Tony's right. How are you? How are you? How are you? So this is going to be kind of a book review um, of the latest book of poetry that I read. So I am going through my SWA book reading list, and so I am currently reading Richard Peabody's Guinness on the Quay, but I've read like page like 2 poems and stuff. I need to kind of like finish that up. But I'm going to talk about Alphabet of Morning, Kari and Ebert. So this is a really cool book because it's kind of like, it's not handbound, it is staple, but it is from a local press. And when I say local, I mean like to the state, because it's not in the city that I live in. But this is the press. And they have like books, other books too, but this is a limited edition. So this is one of 100. And so it's signed by the artist, and it's really cool. So Alphabet of Morning, I'm gonna be real. I feel the same way about like this other book of poetry that I need to be reviewing. It's been like 3 months, 4 months since I like said I was gonna do it, and I have not done it. It's kind of like feeling like, have I evolved enough that I can understand what's going on here? That's how I feel. And so let's just read what it is about, because also if I read it, I'm like, oh, this clicks for me, then that may help me. But yeah, so Alphabet of Morning. So morning is spelled like this. It's technically mourning, like to mourn someone's like life or death or whatever. Yeah. So it's a collection of poems by Kari and Ebert. Alphabet of Morning represents the magic of words. I believe language can be a tap of alchemy that transforms our most crushing grief into healing or joy or new wisdom. The title represents the full scope of human existence or experience. Mourning and mourning are combined. Mourning represents a fresh start, and mourning carries a past grief. I like the tension of the two. We can either rewrite our mourning into a fresh start, or ignore it and continue to write mourning onto our bones. These poems are ultimately about connection. It may be connection to children or parents or a lover, but each poem represents a strong connection that if it were cut, the speaker would be mortally wounded. And it makes sense, because I could pick up the mourning, like the grief aspects of it. And so yeah, it's short. It's short. So it's very approachable in that way. You shouldn't feel intimidated by this book. It's 30 pages, including like pages that separate sections. And so yeah, it shouldn't be like that, like I said, intimidating to us. So it has different sections, like I said. So it has abandoned, futility, galaxy, mythos, naturopathy. I forget, how do you pronounce this word? Oh my god, I was going to write a list of words that I cannot pronounce or don't know yet, and I like this word, but I never remember how to pronounce it. I always look it up and I like never pronounce it. Anyway, taciturn zenith. Oh my god, I gotta like look that Jonah up. Oh my god. So yeah, so the first section talks about, I feel like it's more like it felt more like childhood type things, childhood observances to me. I felt like, because the first poem like kind of opens up with like a little bit of that. Baby poems on birch trees to Wilton, New York, 1972. And the interesting thing also about me is that I was born in New York, and I'm starting to like process what that means relative to like the people that I grew up with, because I grew up with people who are not from New York. I grew up on my dad's side and they're not from New York. Like no one's from New York. Like we have family that ended up moving up there on this side, I think, but it was like they're not like the closest relatives to me. They're like extended kind of relatives, and pretty much they're all like deceased now, because they were older when I was like young. They were like 50, 60 years old when I was young, so like I'm 30 now, so they are all deceased pretty much. So yeah, on my dad's side, like everybody is like Maryland, Virginia, and so I always grew up standing out in that way, that I'm the only like one born outside out of this state. And like is some like tension there. I ended up doing a whole lot of like clearing work this past week, and that was cutting off everybody. Part of that was cutting off people, including family. But yeah, so this book brought up like things about that, and that's starting to come to the surface for my own writing. But yeah, I feel like with this book overall, I struggled with it, and I was kind of like, first of all, do I have a reading disability? Because I feel like even in reading the description, I struggled to like read the language of it. And this is also a book, I feel like, you know how you start reading and you autofill words and stuff like that because you assume what the next word is. I did a lot of that with this book, and I don't know why, because like for the most part I'm not like that, and I don't know if I was like rushing through, or like I just want to get this shit over with. I wanted to meet a quota, but I was just like, I felt like I was rushing through this in a way, and I kept tripping up over language, and that's something that I was very interested in but confused by. And so yeah, I feel like this book is good if you want to really pay attention to language. It is not because the actual language itself, like there's a lot of words that you like may not know or anything like that, but I just feel like with the spacing and the pacing of it, it's almost like you really have to pay attention, even though it's kind of plainly written also, which is really interesting to me. Now there's certain concepts in here that I don't get or understand because like I just don't be understanding, like but I do enjoy reading it. If you like Gwendolyn Brooks, there is a poem after Gwendolyn Brooks. And what I did, because this thing that is this collection plays with language a lot, it kind of did start opening up my ways of reading, because okay, so you have stuff like this where there's pauses, right? And so it kind of again plays with your sense of like cadence and rhythm when it comes to writing, because it felt like, okay, you can read this straight through, but it felt like the pacing of it was broken up because it's like each individual thought that's in here, and it forced you to slow down. And I feel like this is a writer, poet that wants you to slow down and pay attention, and not necessarily like I'm gonna teach you to like do this, but I kind of just feel like the way this is constructed, it's almost like constructed a little bit how like maybe how memory works a little bit, our personal experiences with memory. Like this is a full line of work, but it's broken up into pieces, and they all are read perhaps as a straight kind of like narrative, but there's little vignettes happening, and there's little gaps in the information and stuff like that, which is like your gap in like what you either kept or didn't keep, or like what is more important versus not as important, right? Like you still keep it in your memory, but like it's a lesser memory, and you don't like you don't harbor it as much, right? Because it may not be as painful, it may not be as significant at the moment, stuff like that. Another thing is because it also had color with the language, my eyes also were like, it's like this is like a book in like overcome distraction also. Because Familiar Haze, I read the red first because my eye went to the red first, right? So I went to the red first, and then I read the lines, and then I was kind of trying not to go back to just the red. And yeah, it's like a lot going on. Yeah. So there was that. It's kind of the same thing happening here a little bit. And then we feel like we get to this. And so this was another one that plays with language, and yeah, I kind of like was like, okay. And this is a poetry book that I feel like I enjoyed. Like, I enjoyed the shorter works, but I like the longer works because I feel like the longer works experimented a lot more, and I got a lot more out of it in terms of. I think this is a really good book to study if you're actually a poet, to deal with language and stuff like that, and how it reads across the board and like intentionality in that. This is a really good book for that. And I'll explain why also at the end. And then again, we have like experimental. I feel like this is very experimental to me, how I see things, right? And then we have like this letter of the alphabet, and again, like that red kind of draws you in a little bit. And then like the last poem is like all like red, right? Okay, so there is a bit of an explanation for these these poems. So the cool thing about this is that like, yeah, you get like the bio and stuff like that. You get acknowledgement of like where all this stuff has been published, and actually quite a few of the poems were published elsewhere before this like whole collection came to pass. But the notes are really interesting to me. So I'm gonna read like actually like the notes. So, and I like this concept because I feel like if you aren't interested in necessarily diving headfirst into like poetry because it feels like an overwhelming task, notes like this I think help you figure you can learn a little bit from it, right? Like you don't have to do like books upon books, but like the little notes that you get from this and like other books help you like guide you on a path of like maybe exploring these topics. Okay, cool. So note 1, familiar haze. It's written in a poetic form created by Terrence Hayes, The Golden Shovel. I learned about this at SWA. No, not at SWA. At a writing thing at a writing retreat that I went to. I was able to go because my director was able to get like a ticket for me to go. So I went there, and that's where I learned about SWA. That's not SWA though. But I learned about the Golden Shovel because the lady who taught the seminar, is a part of SWA. Anyway, so the Golden Shovel. So this poem uses every word in the first line of each stanza of Gwendolyn Brooks' poem Truth as each line's end word. So 1, that's a note. Terrence Hayes, The Golden Shovel poem, introducing you to another form of poetry that you can utilize on YouTube. Well, Major Tom is a persona created by David Bowie, first appearing in the 1969 song Space Oddity. Persona poems, things like that. I know somebody who graduated, like they do persona poems. Do You Love Me is based on the 1962 song by the Contours and its appearance in the 1987 movie Dirty Dancing, and also first in the scripture John 21:17. That one is more like combining references. And like, let me see if I can find Do You Love Me. Hold on. Do you love me? 16. It's just this one, which is like the most normal looking one. But it's mixing concepts together, right? A lot of concepts. Then we have, oh my God. I was like, Medulla Pazam. It sounds like a medication, but it's also in which her daughter hears the diagnosis. It's a contrapuntal poem, therefore it can be read more than one way. And that's the one that looks like this. It's this one. Oh, sorry, this one. It's this one. So now you're learning about that. You can like start to look that up. I really liked this one. So, and I witnessed my father's fear that he can no longer take care of his bride. and I want to know if I'm like pronouncing those things right. Uses the practice of constrained writing techniques or rules to create the poem. This practice was made famous by Oulipo Group, founded in 1960. So I gotta look into them. This poem's constraint is that each word can only come from the letters appearing in the phrase macular degeneration and can only use each letter the number of times it occurs in the phrase. For example, mom cannot be used because there is only one M occurring in the phrase. Heartbeat uses Oulipo constraint called bivocalism. Okay. This confines the poem to using only words with two chosen vowels, in this case, A and E. Words can use A and E alone or combination. Okay. No other vowels are allowed. This is like very like good. If you want to like get into like language and like experimentation stuff like that, I feel like this is the book for you. I feel like this will be an excellent book for you because I have learned in the last 10 minutes of me reading this so much because I'm not really big on like this is this kind of poem and this kind of poem. I just write, bitch. I just be writing about, I'm more like a topics person. Like I'm writing about this topic. I'm not necessarily 100% a form person. But I like that this book explains different forms and really utilizes them across the board, and you can get a variety of poems like that. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed reading this for that reason, but it's kind of funny because the language tripped me up a lot, and reading it tripped me up a lot, and it's like, okay, let me slow down a bit. But I did enjoy it. So, yeah, that's Alphabet of Morning. I hope you are able to still get it. There was only 100 editions when I got it in May, and I don't know if they like redid it. I think it was limited release, so if it's still out there and you want to get it, go ahead and head to lilypress.com. I think they would have it on their website still if it's still available. And yeah, let me know if you read it. Let me know if you're interested in reading it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.